Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this interview. I am Marah Youssef Al-Jaish, a translator and the communication coordinator for UNBOX here in UNRWA. Today we are going to have a special guest, the director of the UNRWA Affairs in Gaza, Mr. Thomas White. So welcome, Tom, and thanks for your time to have this interview with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
So nice. So today we are introducing Tom and interviewing Tom, who is the director of the UNRWA field here in Gaza. So Tom, we all know that you are the director of the UNRWA field here in Gaza, but we want to know about where are you from and how long have you been here in the region, and what's your favorite, why it is it's so favorite to you to work here in Gaza?
Okay. Well, I'm from Australia. I grew up in Sydney, Australia. I've been working in the humanitarian and international development for over 20 years. And so I've worked in a range of countries, mostly countries that are in crisis or in conflict, and always serving people who are affected by that conflict. So it's the second time I've worked in Palestine. I used to work with our West Bank field office for a number of years, and then as a break for 10 years, where I've been working in other countries such as Libya and Syria and Afghanistan, I've come back to Palestine. So I was very excited to come back to Palestine and start working in Gaza for the first time about 2 years ago. And I've found it a very, very rewarding experience. And I think the two things for me are I love the sea. So being able to, at the end of the day, go down and actually be able to see the Mediterranean Sea is very special. And I know for many people in Gaza, that's the respite or at the end of the day. But for me, the other thing that has been an absolute joy is meeting so many people from the Gazan community, refugees in camps, refugees running small businesses, and of course, the staff of UNRWA, and we have 13,000 Gazans working for UNRWA. That's been an absolutely, an absolute pleasure to work with those staff, and I continue to be impressed by the work of Gazans in support of the refugee community here in Gaza.
So interesting. We want to know what inspired UNRWA to collaborate with the UNBOX, on this particular initiative.
I think there are probably three main things for the collaboration with UNBOX. The first one is that it involves young people. It's focused on young people, and of course, about 70% of Gazans are under the age of 29. And of course, UNRWA has a big responsibility towards the young people, particularly in our schools. And so this initiative enables us to engage in partnership with UNBOX with young people in Gaza. So that's important. The second aspect is technology. I think what's really exciting is that this is bringing some of the cutting edge technology, Web3 technology into the Gaza context and proving that we can deliver, we can work with this technology, that we can put this technology in the hands of Gazans and make it work. And that's very much linked to the broader work of UNRWA to digitize a lot of our work and a lot of the support that we undertake with the community. The third aspect is really, on this particular project, we want to look at the issue of the environment, and in particular, how do we recycle waste? And UNRWA in the last year is making a commitment to be greener, to be a partner with the community on the environment. And I think this is a good way, this part is a good way for us to start engaging on the issues of how do we look after the environment in partnership with the local community.
So how do you see this app of the recycling, like the UNBOX one? how do you see it? Like, it has an important role in educating people and encouraging them to recycle. So what's your opinion about it?
Look, when I first was speaking to the team from UNBOX, I think what was really exciting was using a piece of technology that enabled people to learn and also act in terms of something that was going to be benefit to their community. You know, I mean, behind it is the use of technology for encouraging some behaviour change. The idea that something that had been very successfully applied in Belgium could be brought to Gaza and could have the same benefits for the community was an opportunity that we could not pass up. And you know, my feeling is that we need to bring the best practice to Gaza, and we've got a community here who have got the capacity to engage with at the forefront of technology, in the world. And so it really was a unique opportunity that UNRWA could work with UNBOX to bring this to the communities of Gaza.
Yeah, so wonderful. So how important is recycling awareness to the larger mission and values of UNRWA?
Look, in recent years, we've started looking at the issue of recycling, the impact of our operations on the community, on the environment. We have, in Gaza, been very engaged in terms of putting solar power on a lot of our facilities. And so if you go to most of our schools now, you'll see that they have that we're accessing solar power. So we've done a lot of work in that regard. Right now, we are working with a company in Gaza so that we can produce biodegradable plastic bags. We use a lot of plastic in our food distribution. As you know, 1.2 million Gazans are receiving food aid from UNRWA. So we want to reduce plastic waste, or plastic waste that is not going to dissolve. So we're working on some biodegradable plastic waste. This pilot is very closely linked to that, because what we want to do is encourage the sorting of rubbish, waste, so that it can be made available to the private sector, companies here who are recycling here in Gaza. And we want to make sure that we help and support that industry grow.
So the pilot, as you know, will be held from or between the 10th of September to the 10th of March. So, of course, in the GFO and the GTC. So can you tell us about the unique challenges that will face the UNRWA compound and the surrounding refugee camps?
Well, look, I'm very happy that we've selected 2 UNRWA locations to trial, to have a pilot of this application. We've selected 2 UNRWA facilities, but they're actually quite different. So the Gaza field office is an office environment. We have lots of staff who are supporting all of our schools and health clinics out in the governorates. So we've got an office environment, but then we also have the Gaza Training Centre, which is a college with 1,000 young people. So I think it's going to be 2 very different audiences. Yeah. It is a bit of a controlled environment, so we can, the first stage of this pilot, we can do it in an environment where there is a little bit of control, it's contained. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be very exciting to see how UNRWA staff react to it, and then how UNRWA students, and particularly a much younger demographic in Gaza, engage and react to the technology.
So how do you think the resistance of the compound will respond to this new initiative? Like, do you see any hurdles or resistance from their side?
Look, I think one of the major hurdles that I thought was going to be an obstacle on this pilot project was the ability of UNBOX to get the application to work in a 2G network. And I think that was an enormous challenge which they've overcome. So that was one of the first challenges that worried me. And I remember speaking to the team when we were first discussing this, was one of the biggest things holding back Gaza is there is only a 2G network. We really want to make this work, but we're going to have to do it on a 2G network. Now, they've done that now, which is great. I think the next biggest challenge will be getting some of my older colleagues to engage with the technology. And I am sure that in the Gaza Training Centre, the young people, the students in the Gaza Training Centre are going to really engage with this technology. And you know, I continue to be impressed with where we are working with young people and technology here in Gaza. They are moving ahead so quickly. So I think there's going to be a huge uptake of students in the training college. I think we're going to have to do a bit more work to encourage maybe some older people in Gaza to engage with this technology. But really, this is where the students being involved in this pilot is so important, because they will be the biggest ambassadors for this. And it comes back to this issue that the majority of people in Gaza are young. This is a way that they can take something that's good for their environment back into their communities. And effectively the students of the training college will be the ambassadors for this tool, this application.
So given the unique context of Gaza, are there any materials or things that can be a priority in recycling?
I think the thing that we've identified immediately is, how do we manage solid waste? And as you know, most of the solid waste of Gaza is taken to the eastern areas into big dump sites, and that we know that's not a long-term sustainable solution. As UNRWA, we've started looking at the solid waste, and we are obviously removing solid waste from the 8 camps here in Gaza, and that runs into hundreds and thousands of metric tons of waste every year. So we want to be a good partner with the Gaza community, hopefully show some leadership in terms of how do we encourage some recycling of that waste. And that's what we would like to be doing in terms of some of the behaviour change through the UNBOX pilot and the application, but also some of the things that we want to do in terms of UNRWA using biodegradable plastic, for example, in the distribution. But we'd really like to do things that we can also make sure that we're supporting the growing recycling industry here in Gaza. So that's really our focus at this stage. We've done a lot of work on solar, and I think now it's this issue of solid waste, what we call solid waste, rubbish, trash, hopefully being able to create systems, maybe an economy around recycling in Gaza.
So how will the GFO and the GTC respectively play unique roles here in Gaza about recycling?
Okay, I think the great thing is this is the stimulus for us to start really recycling, and I think it will be sending a very important message, as I said, to a group of students who will take out the message of recycling. But also I think it's going to be a good process of helping staff here who are responsible for all of the schools we run, who are responsible for supporting the health clinics that we operate and the distribution centres, to take into all of their work a mindset which is, okay, we need to look after the environment as well as deliver education or healthcare. I think also at this point, we do see ourselves working in partnership. There are already people in the community who have taken up this issue of recycling, whether it's small companies who are recycling or whether it's people collecting rubbish on the streets and taking that rubbish to recyclers. It's about how do we partner with and support that growing part of the economy.
So can you share with us any success stories related to the sustainability of recycling and here in Gaza to inspire our pilot here or our project?
What we understand is that there are already businesses, and the team has already been speaking to a number of businesses who are the leaders, the pioneers on recycling in Gaza. This pilot will directly work with one of those businesses who is focused on recycling of plastics. So that is something that we're very pleased with. And of course, the other aspect for us is really looking at this whole issue of the burden that we place on the environment through the plastic bags, and we will be in the next food round trialling the biodegradable plastic bags. So I think they're the sort of two areas that we'd be focused on.
What role do you think like mature students here in the GTC can play in spreading the educating part of the recycling and throughout the border community?
Yeah, I think it will be word of mouth. Yeah. I think that that they can demonstrate that in their own college, that they have changed their behaviour towards waste management, rubbish. How do they deal with rubbish? That they are also then where does that rubbish go? It's going into a system that recycles that rubbish, is good for the environment. We want them to be able to talk about it. We want them to be able to spread the message, because of course at some point we'd like to take this trial from inside the Gaza Training Centre and inside the Gaza Field Office. We want to take it into the community. And I think that the young people in the training college are going to be the best ambassadors for this. The other thing I would say is, and I've been really impressed with the colleagues from UNBOX, they've got a learning mindset. They're always trying to look at how they improve the application, the software behind it, how people engage with the software or the application. And so I think the feedback from students to the UNBOX team is also going to be really important. So, I'm sure that there are going to be ideas that come from students in the Gaza Training College, which will help build a better product for Gaza.
So in terms of the environmental education, how does this application fit into the other UNRWA initiatives here?
So you mentioned education. We have a range of initiatives in the schools on the environment and greening the environment. And this year in particular, we had a new summer camp as part of the Summer Fun Weeks, and it was called Global Citizenship. And a core part of that, it was around the environment, issues related to the environment, and working with participants on the camp to think through how they can provide leadership in their community on environmental issues. And so I really see that very much aligned to the initiative with UNBOX, because here's a tool that young people can use to encourage behaviour change in their community on the environment.
How do you hope this pilot will shape the future waste management strategies in Gaza and perhaps other regions in UNRWA regions? So,
initially, I think this is a way of engaging the community on the issue of waste management, particularly in the camps. There is a lot of pressure on our ability to keep the camps clean, and this will enable us to partner with the residents of the camp, the people who live in the camps, so that together we can have a better environment for people living in the camps. Of course, then we also want to make sure that it doesn't all go to a landfill site, that some of that rubbish can be recycled, which is obviously good for the environment. So I think that the issue of behaviour change around solid waste rubbish is the start. I think we will learn from UNBOX that there are a whole range of different ways we can use this application to encourage certain activities, to support certain activities within the community. And we really want to make this a success, because it will be a way that potentially we can use it in how do we encourage some children with regards to their education, for example. So, we're starting small. We want to get this pilot right, and then we'd like to take the lessons learnt from that into the community. But of course, we are excited that this could be something that benefits communities, refugee communities across the Middle East.
So, Mr. White, from a personal perspective, why is this initiative important to you?
Look, I've really enjoyed, as I said earlier, meeting Gazans, all walks of life. It is a really unique situation here because of the conflict, because of the blockade. I see that there's a very, very well educated young population in Gaza. We know that there are not many opportunities for employment. One area that UNRWA is looking at is what role can we help the tech industry, the IT industry, the digital economy. What role can we do to help? Now, we are already training lots of young Gazans in sort of software and business skills. We've set up a social business here that is providing services back to the rest of the UN on software. We see this partnership with UNBOX as a very much part of making sure that Gaza is at the cutting edge of technology, particularly information technology from around the world, and prove that young people in Gaza can engage with the latest technology, and that can create opportunity. And so that's what I'm excited about. I see this as something that's going to be good for the community and what have you, but could create opportunity for young people, because it's building an understanding that young Gazans can engage with the latest technology. Young Gazans can get involved in the digital economy. Even if they're stuck in Gaza, with the right training, the right support, being able to engage with companies such as UNBOX, they can engage with the digital economy, even if it means that they're doing it remotely from Gaza and are freelancing, as many of the young Gazans are talking about, or actually getting a job with a tech company. It's demonstrating that Gaza can engage with the digital world. And in fact, through this pilot, we want to show that even in a place with, as I said, 2G, Gaza can make it work.
So what message do you hope this pilot sends to the wider international community about UNRWA's and Gazans as being part of the commitment to sustainability?
Yeah. Look, I wanted to demonstrate to the international community the potential of Gaza. Everybody I meet here is not saying I want more food. They're saying I want a job. And for me, it's a way of showing that Gazans are entrepreneurial. They are looking at improving their lives, that there is enormous potential here. And so I really see it as a very much a way to show a different side of Gaza that, of course, in the international media, it's all, every time there's a war here, it's those sort of images where I want to be able to convince people, or not me, but I think the community can convince the international community that there's enormous potential here. And I think the second thing for me is, for the international community, is showing that UNRWA is bringing the latest technology to its work in support of the refugee community. That UNRWA is on the forefront of making sure that we use technology in our work, but also when we engage with the community, that technology is part of that. And so, whether it's making sure, and we have some partners who are supporting us now to look at digital learning in our schools, equally on other aspects, we are using the latest technology, and we can only do that if we have partnerships with the private sector, partnerships with organisations such as UNBOX, and that's why it's very exciting, and that's what we want to push out to the international community.
So how can individuals and organisations like outside, abroad, help Gazans and support the UNRWA with this issue? in the initiatives or other things?
I think the thing I'd focus here is on the technology aspect of this pilot. For people who are outside of Gaza, my message is that, through pilots like this, there is the ability to bring the latest technology to a low resource setting and make it work. And that we, when I say we, Gaza is looking for partnerships with the international community, particularly around the digital economy. And I think the pilot with UNBOX will demonstrate that these sort of initiatives, this sort of work can actually be carried out by Gazans in Gaza. And so anything that encourages the international private sector involved in the digital economy, come and look at what we can do in Gaza.
So the UNRWA is planning an event in February. So how can we link this initiative?
So we are planning an event in early next year. What we want to do is bring together everybody involved in the digital economy in Gaza. We'd also like to bring some international partners, some private sector partners to that event. Of course, it's already fantastic that we have UNBOX who will be part of that event, but really it's designed to challenge ourselves with the question of how do we, in Gaza, help build a strong, vibrant digital economy. And it will be bringing together young people who are freelancing for other companies on software, people who are working for other companies, looking at some of the infrastructure issues around access to power or internet connections. But it's also going to be very important to bring other international partners and really the private sector, because we see that the digital economy of Gaza, it needs to be connected to the global economy, and it's a way that hopefully we can get people interested from the private sector about the potential here in Gaza. Now, our ability to demonstrate that is through products, applications such as the UNBOX application, and say, this can work in Gaza. Come to Gaza. There are young people who want to engage in the digital economy. They're well educated, they're well trained, and they're ready to build, a viable digital economy here in Gaza.
Thank you.
Thank you.